Battlefield 2042 has been out for almost 2 years now, and it's still showing no signs of improvement, and it's really looking like this game is going to remain dead, and here is why. But to give you the proper answer, we have to go back to the beginning, to give you some actual context. And by beginning, I mean the end of Battlefield 5. Battlefield 5 is kind of a tragedy. Yes, it launched in a pretty poor state like Battlefield 2042, but nowhere near as bad. But over the years it improved, it had DLC, it had new maps, it had new weapons, it had balance changes, everything was looking up. And then EA just cut support, just like Battlefront 2. To everyone it made no sense, but the decision was made. Battlefield 5 was dead. At least that's what EA thought would happen. Battlefield 5 is actually kind of still alive. You can still go in and you can still play it, and there's loads of players still playing. And it's in the best position it ever was when it comes to actual gameplay. Maybe not so much with player count, but it's in a much better state than Battlefield 2042. After support was cut, rumors started to spread. When's the next Battlefield? What is the next Battlefield? Is there even going to be another Battlefield? And it took a while for any announcements to come, but before any official announcement was made, EA CEO Andrew Wilson said this, and I quote, "The game takes full advantage of the power of the next generation platforms to bring massive immersive battles to life with more players than ever before. Featuring maps with unprecedented scale, the next edition of Battlefield takes all the destruction, player agency, vehicle and weapon combat that the franchise is known for and elevates it to another level. The team is focused and the game is ahead of our internal milestones." End quote. The key word there is ahead. Battlefield 2042, also known as Battlefield 6 back then, was not ahead of schedule. In fact, the entire development is actually quite interesting. If you dig a bit deeper into the development of Battlefield 2042, you'd find that Battlefield 2042 was a complete mess. No one knew what Battlefield 2042 was going to be, and that is why so many issues are still present in the game today. Originally, Battlefield 2042 was going to be a battle royale, obviously, because EA copies everything that's popular. But then, for whatever reason, EA said, no, we don't want a battle royale. That is why Battlefield Hazard Zone, that's what they called the battle royale, which isn't a battle royale, Hazard Zone, was a separate game mode. Because originally, this was going to be like the big mode of Battlefield 2042, from what I can see and find when you research it. Let's not forget that because of all these issues, because DICE is being stretched to the absolute max with Battlefront 2 and Battlefield 5, and having to ditch all their hard work over the years for this new game, a lot of them are just leaving at that time, which means most of the people that understand the Frostbite engine, which is the engine that's used to make Battlefield, they're gone, which means new developers have to come in and they have to learn Frostbite engine, which takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time to understand engines and, develop for them, from what I can research. I don't make games, but that's what you can find on the internet. The internet, man, is a pretty good thing. It's a pretty good thing for research. Right there, it's very easy to see why Battlefield 2042 was not ahead of schedule. I mean, when does it get to a point where you're just lying about a product? You know what I mean? And that leaves us with launch and today. The beta got released and all of the lies, all of the marketing, it just completely fell apart. When people get access to these products with these games and they finally experience what the game actually is, all the marketing, all that money that's been spent on marketing is completely useless, which is why betas are kind of useless today for developers and, companies and everything now. But for players, for ourselves, betas are incredibly helpful for multiplayer games, obviously. And the marketing, everything, it just fell apart. Battlefield 2042 was clearly not ready. And what do? They pushed it back 2 weeks. They had no intention of fixing Battlefield 2042. They had full intentions of launching a broken, unfinished product, and that's what they did, and they got away with it once again. So that leads us to today. Why is EA failing to do what they did with Battlefield 5? Battlefield 5, as I mentioned at the start of the video, had a bit of a comeback. If you go back to it today, it's in the best state it's ever been. I will stick by that. I made a review on a different channel about, 6 months ago, last time I played it. I had an absolute bloody blast. It was one of the best Battlefield experiences I've had in years. But when I went back to 2042, it is still in a terrible, terrible state, in my opinion. Let's stop being so dramatic and let's get to the meat of the video. Hi. So here we are, the Battlefield 2042 launch. It's gotta be spectacular. It's gotta be the best game ever made. It's gotta be the best Battlefield game ever made, because Andrew Wilson said they were ahead of schedule. What a load of bollocks. After the beta, we all thought, you know what, maybe it's an old build, right guys? That's the same excuse we always get. It's an old build, it's an old build. Swear to God, give us your money now. Pre-order it right now. That's what everyone did. Well, not everyone, but enough people made enough pre-orders and they made a fuck ton of money. But of course, Battlefield 2042, it didn't work. Hit reg issues, map design, lack of game modes, lack of destruction, characters that are supposed to be in like a post-apocalyptic in some sense world making Fortnite jokes. The actual designs of the maps, they were crap. It made absolutely no sense for 128 players. That's if you can get 128 players in your actual match, because the matchmaking is all over the place. Then you actually get into a game and you find out destruction in a Battlefield game, yeah, it doesn't exist anymore. It's not here, it doesn't exist. Everything you touch cannot be destroyed. Very few things can be destroyed in this Battlefield game, and that's what Battlefield is known for. Who remembers the days of Bad Company 2? We'll get to that in just a minute, but who remembers it? I remember it, and I barely played the fucking thing when I was younger. Battlefield 3 was my main Battlefield game. That was like my childhood right there. Then Battlefield 4 came out, and the rest is history. But at least those games had some semblance of branding with the destruction, with the map design, with the sound design. Oh my god, remember the sound design? Oh, but with Battlefield 2042, it just didn't seem to exist. It didn't feel like Battlefield. I remember everyone got super hyped about 128 players. That sounds incredible if the maps were designed and if the game modes were adequately redesigned to suit 128 players. But that didn't happen. Anyway, let's go back to launch. Everyone gets into the game. Everyone's having a blast. At least that's what we all thought was going to happen. People started picking their classes, customizing their guns, until they realized hit registration is non-existent. Every gun, hit registration, it doesn't work. You know the thing that really matters in a first-person shooter when you shoot enemies and they're supposed to get shot? Doesn't work, mate. Too bad. SMGs are better than sniper rifles. Assault rifles are useless. Snipers feel good, but the thing that made sniping interesting in Battlefield before, with bullet drop and lining up your shots with moving targets because snipers weren't hit scan, that's gone as well. It's still not hit scan, but it might as well be. Obviously Battlefield 5 still has that issue, but sniping in Battlefield 5 is actually quite fun. But in 2042 it sucks. Not to mention the lack of weapon variety. There are still almost no guns in this game. Are there a few? Yes, they are. There are a few guns, but it's nowhere near what Battlefield 4 has. Nowhere near. Battlefield 2042 should really have been inspired by Battlefield 4, because that's what everyone was asking for. We did the World War stuff, we did World War 1, which was really good, we did World War 2, which sucked at the start but is good now. Just go back to the modern day stuff, you know, the thing that blew Battlefield up in some case, Battlefield 3. Bring it back to the modern day. But they couldn't even do that, which is just insane. Oh, hang on a minute lads, I'm just gonna have a sit down. So, Battlefield 2042 came out, everyone realised the issues, but are there any positives? Actually, yeah. You see, with Battlefield 2042, the actual core gameplay is actually quite good. Time to kill is fine, it feels like classic Battlefield. There are a ton of vehicles as well, which is quite surprising because this doesn't feel like a Battlefield game, but all the vehicles are super overpowered. Some of them are driving up the top of buildings, on the side of buildings, driving all the way to the top somehow because someone didn't playtest the game. I mean, these things are such basic things to make sure it works, you know what I mean? Vehicles driving along walls. Was that meant to be a mechanic? Because it fucking wasn't advertised. And then we get to Battlefield Portal. The thing is, with Portal, it was advertised to be this massive thing that was just completely unique to the series, bringing Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4, and even some of the original Battlefield maps from the original games fucking 20, 30 years ago, whenever it was, to this one game. So you're getting a bunch of maps, a bunch of guns, a bunch of vehicles, all in the same game along with Battlefield 2042. What they did was the same thing COD did for Infinite Warfare, except they didn't charge you extra for it. It just sounded like a win-win, except it wasn't. Battlefield Portal is such a downgrade to the original experiences. I don't know anyone that even played it after a while. I didn't play it after. I play like 2 games, like, why don't I just install Battlefield 3? It's like 15 gigabytes. I'll install that, thank you very much. I don't want to play this crap. All in all, it was just really, really disappointing, right from its launch and even today. But why hasn't EA focused on getting DICE to make new content for Battlefield 2042, as well as just extending its life cycle? because they're already talking about abandoning it. Well, it's quite simple really. Battlefield 2042 is flawed from its very foundation. I mentioned map design. They've had to go in and basically change some maps completely because the design is that bad. There are no real choke-off points, there are no flanking opportunities, it's all vehicle based and it's very, very boring to play. If you like infantry, if you prefer infantry in Battlefield 2042, you don't like vehicles or anything, get ready to start running for 20 minutes to get shot in the face by a sniper. That is what Battlefield 2042 is, and that's always a joke in the Battlefield series. The maps were always so big where if you played infantry, you're basically just running around. It's a walking simulator. And that wasn't really the case for any of the other Battlefields, to be honest with you, but with Battlefield 2042, they made that shit true. It's just really unfortunate. The maps are just far too big to accommodate 128 players. And on top of that, they forgot to make the maps good. They forgot to make it feel like a game. They forgot to make it enjoyable. They forgot to make every flag on Conquest worth fighting over. It's just flawed from its very foundation. On top of that, vehicles, especially tanks, I believe, are really overpowered. Do you remember in Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4, everyone enjoyed the balancing of vehicles because vehicles felt powerful. But if you played as an engineer and you had your rocket launcher, you played as recon, you had your C4, you had a very, very good chance of taking out a tank by yourself. Here, that's just not the case. Tanks take like 5 fucking RPG hits to take out, and it's incredibly boring, and that's shooting them from behind as well. There used to be tactics to it. You'd sneak around the back of a tank if he was dumb enough to let you, and you'd fire a shot on his back. He starts panicking, starts driving around. You sneak around again. Boom, he's dead. You felt fucking awesome, and it was completely fair. It was a completely legitimate win on your end because you outmaneuvered that fucking tank that could have blown you apart in seconds. You've done that. You did that, but you can't do that in Battlefield 2042 because vehicles, they added in a whole different battle damage system where you have to shoot the track and everything in Battlefield 5, and that kind of worked in that game, but in 2042 it is just fucking abysmal. It's abysmal. Anyway, we should move on from the tanks. As you can tell, I like taking out tanks as engineer or recon. Can't do that in Battlefield 2042 really, which sucks. To clarify, you can take out tanks. I'm not saying you can't do it, but you're gonna need like 4 or 5 guys on one tank at the same time. There's no doing it yourself, which was part of the fun. Doing it by yourself, being able to brag about it. But you just can't do that now, in my experience. Enough about the gameplay. We already know this. We've all played this. We've all seen the news. We all saw it when it launched. Why is it going to remain dead? Why can't they revive this game? Well, like I said, it's from the foundation, but there's more to it. First off, money. Battlefield 2042 has a battle pass now. Every major game seems to have it, even when they're charging full price for a game. That's a whole different can of worms. If you want to see a video on that, me talking about microtransactions and stuff like that, let me know in the comments down below. If anyone watches this, please watch it. I beg, 33 subs. Let's go. Sticky Man for the win. Come stick with the Sticky Man. Subscribe. Wait. Why I don't think this game is going to be revived is its monetization. It just isn't monetized enough. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but right now all they have is a battle pass. I don't see any plans for map packs or bundles or anything like that. There probably is bundles, but I didn't check. But the point is, the longevity of 2042, with every day passing, it just gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. The longevity of 2042. First off, foundation. Secondly, reputation. Thirdly, monetization. It's the big three. It's the big three. If your foundation is screwed, it's going to cost a lot more money to fix that. If your reputation is screwed, it's not even worth fixing. And free, if there's not enough monetization value, if there's not enough money coming in from that game, why spend all these millions of dollars trying to fix something that is bringing no money in? It's like, everything you do in life, what you want is more coming in than going out. Money-wise, anyway. That's what you want, really. And that's just not the case with Battlefield 2042. And it's their own bloody fault. But the biggest reason as to why this game will never come back, it's lack of direction. Direction has held this game back right from its initial announcement. They clearly did not know what this game was going to be. It constantly changed during development, causing stress on developers, causing deadlines not to be met, causing mechanics to be removed, causing maps to be removed, causing maps to be rescheduled and just turned upside down to suit other game modes that it wasn't planned for. And it really does show. It really does. The amount of maps that I've played in 2042, I mean, there's not many of them, is there? Most of the map is complete dead space. It's complete dead space. Look at this gameplay. Look at it. I'm walking around this area right here, and there's nothing here. It's just some water. I mean, put a flag on here. Put another flag on here. There's another dead area in a map where you're underneath the map, basically. There's no flags under there. Put a flag under there. It adds so much more variety to the gameplay. Just put a flag there so people can have their chokehold thing like Operation Metro. Put a flag on the beach so that vehicles can have a bit of a battle over there and infantry can stay away. Fuck me. So many missed opportunities. It drives me bloody insane. At the end of the day, I'm making no money from this game, so I don't care nearly as much as EA do, probably. Because money, it's not out of passion or anything like money, and money is the biggest motivation for most people, which is fair enough. But I truly believe this game is just not going to be back. I think it's dead in the water. I don't think it's going anywhere, apart from in everyone's uninstalled bit on their PC or PlayStation or Xbox. Imagine if it comes to Switch. That'd be funny. But yeah, what do you guys think? Thank you for watching. Really appreciate it. Smash that like button and stick with the sticky man. Bye bye.